Welcome home to St. Anne's, a place of community, love, and faith. No matter who you are or where you are in your spiritual journey, there's a place for you at Christ's table. Join us Sundays at 10 a.m. or anytime online. We look forward to seeing you.
All right, so this Sunday is often called Good Shepherd Sunday. You guys know I love animals, so you know I'm here for this. Some of you know my favorite pet of all time, and I've had a few, various. And there was one time I had a baby snapping turtle, so I've run the gamut. But the very best pet I ever had was a baby goat. I had a bottle goat. Best pet I've ever had. Jessie can tell you a little bit about raising bottle babies and raising sheep. She has a lot more experience than I do with sheep. I had goats. That should not surprise you that I'm really more of the goat person. I don't know too much about sheep, but we're going to talk about sheep a little bit today because today is known as Good Shepherd Sunday. And this is an image that would have made a lot of sense to folks at the time in the culture in which he's speaking. It may not make as much sense to us today. One, because our agriculture in this area is very different than it would have been in that area. So we're going to do a brief kind of history lesson of some of these images so that I think they'll hopefully connect with us a little bit more than they might be if you just read it as is. You'll see a little bit more of this agricultural approach out in the west. I think there's still some public lands where there will be open herding. So there are communities where they take all the sheep and all the herds and stuff into the public lands, and they're all together, right? So in Missouri, this is my little plot of land. These are my sheep unless they escape, and they're really good at that. But they're contained, right? That's not how it is in this story, and there are plenty of places where that's not the case, even today. You have common lands, you might have your herd, but all the herds are intermixed. And so in those places, when night falls, the shepherd will need to contain their particular sheep, right? And you may not always know exactly which ones are yours because they kind of all look the same, or similar. I don't know how much you know about sheep, but they kind of all look the same. And so you have to have a way of knowing which sheep are yours, so you can gather your sheep. And the shepherd knows them, right? Even though you and I might look at a bunch of sheep and be like, looks like sheep to me. The person, if it's your pet, my goat was a Nubian goat. Nubian goats all look the same. But you could have put my goat in the middle of 50 Nubian goats. I would have known my goat. Of course, I was 6 and I was really emotionally attached to this goat. And that goat was really emotional. She thought she was a dog because she was raised with dogs. She had no sense of being a goat whatsoever. She just knew that she was a vegetarian dog. But when you have that relationship, right? I guarantee Jessie can tell you buttermilk and biscuit. I look at buttermilk and biscuit and I'm like, you got 2 sheep there, Jessie. But Jessie knows. Do you think God, if we look at humans, we're like, well, they kind of look the same to me. God might look at humans and be like, nope, that one's Meg. And that one is Trisha. And that one's Lisa. And that one's Kim. And God knows, right? Okay, this is where it gets interesting, though, because there's something called a sheepfold. And the sheepfold in this culture, in this time, was just a pile of rocks. It's a 3-sided, fenced-in pile of rocks. So tall enough that the sheep shouldn't be able to get out. They're sheep, they get out. But not supposed to be. It's tall enough for them. But it's 3-sided. So it's open, right? That last side where the gate should be, it's open. So guess how you make a gate? You lay there. You are the gate. The shepherd is the gate, to the sheepfold, okay? That is what comes between the sheep escaping and something getting into them. And I don't know how much you know about sheep, but they are prey. Have you had sheep? They're delicious. No, really, truly, they are. Lamb is fantastic. Now, you don't want to get it too old because then it's getting money and weird. But everybody loves a good lamb. They are delicious, and frankly, they're pretty easy to hunt. They are prey of the prey. As somebody who has chickens, I can tell you what raising prey as a pet is like. It's kind of weird. It's a lot of effort because they just kind of easily die, and everyone wants to eat them. So that's kind of how raising sheep is. And so the shepherd is responsible for keeping the sheep from doing dumb things like wandering off and getting killed. But the shepherd is also responsible for making sure nothing gets to them, because things like to get to them. Other people like to get to them because they're worth money. And wolves and other predators like to get to them because they're delicious and they're a quick and easy meal, and it's a lot of food. Do you see the problem here? Can you see the image where we're going with this? Because you and I are not the shepherd. You and I are the sheep, okay? We are beloved creatures. God knows us individually. We also have a habit of wandering off and doing dumb things that could lead to our own personal harm. And we also are at risk of other outside forces coming to us and harming us. So I'm going to go back to, how do the sheep know? They really truly do learn their person, right? They really truly do. And that is the important message here. And that's where I really want us to go. Because the sheep must, as they grow, they must learn who their shepherd is. Who can they trust? Who is looking out for their safety? Who is there to lead them and guide them and protect them? It is life and death for the sheep to have that awareness. That's important. Because you and I are constantly assaulted by all sorts of voices, right? All sorts of messages are coming at us all the time. And many of them claim to be on the side of God, right? It's hard to know. It's hard to know what is God and what is somebody else's voice and their agenda and their goals, and frankly, what are your desires and wants? How do you know? How do we know? How do we know what is our shepherd, our true shepherd? And how do we discern what are outside voices that may be dangerous to us, that may pull us from God, that may pull us from who we are called to truly be? Because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of clamor, there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of claims about what Christianity looks like, what being a follower of God looks like, what being a good human looks like. There are all sorts of messages, right? I am not the only person being inundated all the time, am I? Oh gosh, I hope not, because otherwise this sermon ain't gonna go anywhere. I struggle with that. I struggle with that. I struggle with that as a human. I struggle with that as a parent. I struggle with that as an educator. I struggle with that as a minister. I struggle with that. As a woman in our culture, I struggle with all these different messages of what it means to be a good teacher. What does it mean to be a good school counselor? What does it mean to be a good mom? What does it mean to be a good female? What does it mean to be a good wife? What does it mean to be a good pastor? And the voices don't all agree. And if I listened to all those different messages, I would go insane. And you're like, well, you're already there, so clearly. But really, truly, do you ever get just overwhelmed and inundated by all these different things that you are being told to be or do. Just being a Christian. How many disagreeing voices are there on how to be a good Christian? How to be a good human? It's hard. It's really, really hard. And I want us to acknowledge that it's hard, because it is. And that's why we do it in community. That's why the sheep do it together. Why do the sheep need to be together? Yeah, you got to do it together. Can you be a Christian out there by yourself? Technically, yeah. I mean, the Bible is translated. You could read it. And obviously, you have your own prayer life, and you could pray. But have you ever tried to live as a Christian in this society by yourself? God bless you. Because I couldn't do it alone. It's impossible to do it alone. And so we do it together in the same way that the sheep have to do it together, right? A wandering sheep is an endangered sheep. And a wandering human is an endangered human. It's just hard. All who wander are not lost, Grandma. Some of us are just looking for good toys that haven't been discovered yet. And there are, that's creativity right there. That's a goat, not a sheep. Because a goat's just looking for a good time. And they will find it 100% of the time. So I want us to really reflect on that, about the difficulty that is, and about the importance of discerning voices. Because it's not easy. But there's a litmus test. Did you know that? There's a litmus test. And those of you who have been stuck with me for a really long time might know what the litmus test is. What is it? Say it loud. Love. Love is our litmus test. If that voice calls you to be more inclusive, to be more unloving, if it causes you to stretch, and it calls you to new ways of loving and exploring in depth, of loving yourself, of loving others, of loving God, that's the shepherd. What does Jesus say the voice of the not shepherd is? It's written down. The other voice comes to hurt, to harm, to steal, to cause damage. If that voice is telling you to hate yourself, to hate others, to create damage or harm to yourself or others, if it causes division, is that the voice of the shepherd? No. And it might be a very attractive voice. It's going to be. It's going to be a very addictive voice, because it wouldn't work if it weren't. It's going to be a voice that says, you'll be more powerful this way. You'll be more popular this way. You'll be rich. You'll be all these things if you just come on. And sometimes it will say, this is what it means to be a good Christian. This is what it means to be a good mom. This is what it means to be a good educator. This is what it means to be a good spouse. You just have to do this. This is the answer. And it's so tempting to follow it. And you are not judged by God or anyone else if you follow it. Because I think that's the other piece. If that voice causes you to judge yourself or others, it's not God, and it's not Christ. It's something different. It's pulling you in a different direction, and that different direction is always away from love. Love of self, love of others, love of God. There's a litmus test. And the reason we do this together is because we can remind each other. We can remind each other that at the end of the day, that litmus test will always lead you in one direction. One. So with that, listen to your voices. God, that was a terrible landing. Okay. This is a better landing. This is a much better landing. My husband isn't here. He's not even listening, correct? Yes, he's off somewhere with my youngest child. Okay. There is a friend of ours from college. and he has goats, many, many goats. And one of the mama goats had a baby, and she doesn't like the baby very much. She rejected it. And the other goats are kind of picking on this baby goat. Oh, good, it's Alyssa. Alyssa, don't tell Eric. And it's a bottle baby, and the goat needs a home. Just saying. Yeah, it eats grass. It would save Eric on mowing, really. It's an investment when you think about it. I know Bella's on my side. I told her I'd support her getting a horse if she supported me getting a goat.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.